Jurgis. I'm an English and physical education teacher in Jaunpils, Newcastle, in Latvia. And today I have a guest, a friend, a colleague with me, Lex. He's from the Netherlands and he works at Democratic School as a teacher. And yes, Lex, will you introduce yourself? What do you do? Where are you from?
Well, as Jurgis mentioned, I'm from the Netherlands. I work at the Democratic School, and my subject I give there is biology. I also have the freedom as a teacher to teach whatever I want to teach, if there are students willing to follow the subject. So I teach boxing. I teach board game lessons, and not really for how to play a board game, but what are the things you can learn from the board game and get better at it. Like, for example, poker. You want to get better at statistics. You can try to play poker and get better at it, or just take the game and what kind of things you can learn from it, like Monopoly, money management, investments. So it's really another way to learn different things. And I got the subject how to live on your own. And then I teach out how to do your taxes, how to get health insurance, and how to get funding for your health insurance from the government, but also how to cook, how to clean, how to do first aid, but also if you want to work, make a resume, role playing for applying to a job, and also sexuality and relationships, and maintaining contacts on a professional level, so networking for jobs or anything like, or just your own social network. How do you maintain that in combination with working and all your? So it's quite diverse.
And these extra things away from biology, was that something that the students asked from you, or was that something that you saw that they need?
It was both. There was a lack of physical education because we don't have a building to do a sports hall. We don't have that. So, but we do have the space for movement, and there was space for boxing. It was something I like and do for my own. And I thought, oh, maybe I can do that. And when I asked, there were many students who wanted to do. We're not that big of a school. We've got 140 students, and we work in domains. Domain 1 has children between 4 and 10, roughly, because if you're 8, you want to go to Domain 2. And Domain 1 is for playful learning, just learning while playing. And if you have no motivation to read or to write, to learn how to do mathematics, you can do it, but there's no one who's going to say you have to. And in Domain 2, it's orientational learning. What's out there in the world? Just get to know everything, what's there in the world, and getting the first idea of what you want to do later on in your life. And that Domain 2 is from roughly 10 to 15, and Domain 3 is 15 to 18. And that's for, okay, I roughly know what I want to do, and I'm going to do all the things I need to do for it. insert them even though they're still growing. You have to be really careful with that. And they each year I got roughly around 10 people who want to learn boxing. And but it does work two ways. Either one, students ask for subjects they want to learn, like Japanese. You could learn Japanese at our school. There was 1 year where there were people who wanted to learn Russian, so we get someone a teacher for Russian. But it could also be people who already work there, know things, have skills, and they just hang up a poster saying, I can do this. Are you interested to learn it? Write your name down. And if there are enough students, they gonna do that lesson.
So to have a quick translation, tad mans mērķis ir uzzināt vairāk par demokrātiskajām skolām. Esmu atradis vairākas organizācijas, kas ir Nīderlandē, kur šādas skolas ir eksistē diezgan ilgu laiku. Arī Leķis šādā skolā strādā. Viņš ir bioloģijas skolotājs, bet, kā viņš minēja, viņš pasniedz arī daudz dažādus citus priekšmetus, kurus bērni vai izvēlas paši, vai viņš jūt, kad tas ir kaut kas tāds, kas pietrūkst. Piemēram, kā uztaisīt sev ēst, kā sakārtot savas finansiālās lietas, varbūt kā tikt galā ar nodokļiem, kā investēt naudu, vai arī tas var būt, piemēram, kā boks. Tā ir tā lieta, ko viņš pats māca, ko viņš pats mācās, un tā kā viņu skolā viņš jūta, kad varbūt mazliet pietrūkst fiziskās aktivitātes, viņš piedāvā, hei, vai būtu kādi studenti, kas gribētu ar mani mācīties boksu. Tā kā bija vairāk studenti, kā viņš minēja, šo pēdējā gadā bija 10, tad viņš ar šiem skolēniem mācās arī boksu vai pokeru. Ne tikai kā spēlēt pokeru, vai viņi vienkārši spēlēt pokeru, bet arī viņš māca struktūru un stratēģiju spēlēs, arī galda spēlēs. Piemēram, tā pašā pokerā tu vari iemācīties, kas ir vardarbības teorija, kā nolasīt cilvēkus, vai dažādas spēles funkcijas. Alright, so as a teacher, like how would your typical day, well, obviously it wouldn't be a typical, but like what would you?
Well, a day at the Hampton, this is the name of our school, translated as the space. In the morning, we talk with the other staff members or teachers if there are particular things we have to keep an eye on, or something goes different than usual, or a student who's not feeling as well, or just like sharing information. And then it depends on how your schedule is, because at the beginning of the year we have a market with all teachers, and students can check and talk with each teacher. The student can say, I want to learn something like biology, and I only want to learn about horses or something, or I want to try the state exam, and then I'm gonna collect all the students and make groups out of them that have the same goal. And with that, I make a schedule for myself in combination with all their other subjects they really have. And that's one of the things. I have my lessons on the day, or 2 or 3. It's not really big of. It's not you're teaching the whole time lessons or in front of the classroom, but it's also quite a social school. It's a lot of talking, a lot of information sharing with students, and we have mentor groups that you, with another staff member, you have one group and you're going to talk about how you're doing, or are there goals you want to achieve, or are you are the things that don't work or you can't achieve at the moment? What can we help you with? Or the troubles at home? Everything can be talked about. And I'm besides teacher also a staff member, so what we do, we have circles, and each circle has another part of the school they represent. Like we have the study circle, and people, students, staff members, and teachers are part of the staff circle. Not every student, not every teacher, not every staff, but a select few, and they are arranging everything there needs to be for education or studying. We also have a financial circle, we have a PR circle, public relations circle, we have animal circles for taking care of all animals on the school property. So the top circle is called the school circle. And if you want to change something in school, if you are a teacher, a student, or a staff member, you have to prepare a motion. And if everybody is consent, is okay with it, it goes on, but sometimes people feel an objection. And it can't be just an objection, I don't like it, but it has to be well argumented objection because you think it's bad for school. Then you have that can be, but because you can't always think about everything. But then the one who has the objection has to come up with a better plan to achieve the goal, the purpose for the motion. So we make the school together.
Tad mans jautājums bija, kā izskatās viņa diena kā skolotāja Demokrātiskajā skolā. Un viņš teica, ka, protams, ka nav tāds noteikts šablons vai kā grafiks. Katra diena sākās ar tādu kā apli, kur sanāk kopā visu skolotāju apspriež pēc par to, kā viņiem iet. Kā viņš saka, tā ir ļoti sociāla skola, tādas kā reālas stundas, varbūt dienā ir 2 vai 3, kur viņš vai māca kādu grupiņu ar līdzīgi domājušiem jauniešiem, kas vēlas uzzināt kaut kādu konkrētu lietu par bioloģiju vai tās citas lietas, ko viņš pasniedz. Un tad ir vairāk šādas diskusijas, vairākās tādos kā aplīšos. Viens aplīts ir, teiksim, atbildīgs par publisko tēlu skolas, un tad tas, par ko viņi runāja, tas, vai vēl viens aplīts, teiksim, kā viņš minēja, ir atbildīgs par dzīvniekiem. Visi tie dzīvnieki, kas ir vai zīves, vai suņi, vai kaķi, vienalga, kādi ir skolā, teiksim, ko mēs darām ar viņiem, kas viņi baro apmēram, un jā. Tad ir aplīts, teiksim, par skolas lietām, kas ir labi skolā, ko varētu uzlabot skolā, un ja tu esi skolotājs vai tu esi students tajā skolā, tu vienmēr vari iet uz šo aplīti, tā teikt, socializēties un ieteikt savus ieteikumus, kā varētu uzlabot to. Un ja kāds iebilst, viņš nevar vienkārši iebilst un teikt, nē, mēs tā nedarīsim, jo es tā negribu. Vai tāpēc, ka es esmu direktors. Vienmēr ir jābūt ļoti labam pamatojumam, argumentētam, kādēļ tas var vai nu kaitēt citiem, vai nu skolai. Bet, ja šādu iebildumu nav, un tas var palīdzēt gan cilvēkam, kas izvirza kādu prasību kaut ko izmainīt skolā, gan arī palīdzēt skolai, to tad arī pieņem demokrātiskā veidā. Alright, what do you like best about your job working in a democratic school?
Where it's really great for me to be working as a teacher in my job is the difference between regular education and democratic education is regular you have to be more like getting people motivated for the lessons or act like a policeman. No, stop, quiet, and you really have to test people, you have to prepare them only the knowledge for that's what's in the test. And in democratic education, I don't have to be a policeman. I can really be teaching, because I don't have to do keep order in the classroom. I can be really get to work with all the knowledge there is about that subject, because there's not a curriculum I have to follow. If they want to do a states exam, it's different, but otherwise I can, sometimes I start with biology and I'll end up with history or geography. There's room for everything, and the students are motivated to be in my class because they're choosing themselves to be there, and they make an agreement with me, but making an agreement is free of choice, and changing the agreement for following my lessons is free of choice. But if you make an agreement with me to follow, I expect you to be there. And sure, there are always people, even I don't always have a good day and are motivated to give my lessons, or they aren't, but most of the time they are. And as a staff member, it's really great to follow students create their own life. They create their own curriculum, either be state exam because they want to educate themselves further, because higher education isn't is still regular. So often they have to get a diploma, or either take an entry exam at 18 or 21, depending on the type of education. And but as a staff member, really creating a school and an environment where we all want to be, because it's for us, made by us. It's different than you go to a place that isn't yours, but you have to be there. But if you can be at a place you want to be because it's a part of you, you can decide how it's going there. And it's really, really nice. And what really makes me happy is that I can learn from my students, because sometimes their perspective is different, yes. Sometimes it's really better than my point of view at the moment. And if you open up for learning from your students, then it's really enriching.
I presume that you went to a regular school when you were.
Yeah, so I know the difference.
So you can really compare these two. Tātad mans jautājums bija, what was my question? I'm sorry.
What do you really like about your
Oh,
job?
yeah. So, tad, kas viņam patīk viņa darbā, un viņš uzreiz tad sāk ar mani nākamo jautājumu, kas ir salīdzināt, kā tas atšķirās no parastās skolas. Tātad, tas, ko viņš minēja, ir tas, ka, ja viņš būtu skolotājs parastā skolā, tad viņam būtu jāstrādā kā motivātoram. Tā kā, mums tagad ir jāmācās, tā kā saņemamies, aiziet, mums jāgatavojas šim testam ir, vai ir jābūt policistam, tā kā neskaties telefonā, tagad klusējam, tagad daram to, tagad skatāmies vai nešķiko. Un jāgatavojas kaut kādam konkrētam, teiksim, darbam vai konkrētā lieta, tā ir bioloģija, tad viņš mācīja tikai bioloģiju. Turpretī, Demokrātiskajā skolā, viņš saka, ka viņš var sākt mācīt bioloģiju, un viņi beigās māca ģeogrāfiju vai ekonomiku vai jebko, kas tajā brīdī tiem skolēniem interesē. Un, ja viņiem interesē kaut kas cits, viņi pārslēdzās uz kaut ko citu, un viņiem nav jāatbild vai jākontrolē viņi vai jāmotivē, jo šie studenti vai skolēni visi paši izvēlas var būt, jo viņi grib būt tajā vietā, un viņi grib tās lietas iemācīties. Viņi ir paši nonākuši līdz šim te lēmumam.
A small element I also really like about my job is I can be myself. It's not only Lex a biology teacher, it's Lex in all the things he can do, and all the things I can't do. It's all okay, because we're doing it together. That's why it's not necessary that I can do all the things,
piemetinājumi bija tādi, kas viņam ļoti patīk par viņa darbu, ir tas, ka viņš nav tikai leks bioloģijas skolotājs, bet viņš var būt leks visā tajā, kas viņš ir, un tas, kas viņš arī nav. Un tas ir tā kā labi. Ir tā, kad bērni redz, teiksim, ka tu vari darīt kaut kādas lietas, bet tavas intereses var būt pilnīgi citādākas. Un viņi tur ir kopā, lai kopā arī augtu, attīstītos un arī kaut ko iemācītos. How do you see the future of democratic school and what's the percentage-wise? How many regular schools are there in like your country, and how many democratic schools are there?
Don't know really the percentage, but I think there are 10, 12 democratic schools, and the rest is regular or variants of regular. The variants to like the free school has something, trying to do something similar as we do, but they still have the curriculum the government states. But they're trying to do the lesson different by natural learning. So there are many variants, and this is really my personal opinion. I don't think democratic school is for everyone. It's the one I'm the most affiliated with, but if I'm taking a look at what I want to have for the future, then it's not only democratic schools, and I don't think regular schools are bad for everyone. Some people are really good and feeling really happy with regular education, so why taking it away? But I do think you need not one, not two, but 10 to 12, maybe more types of school, types of education, and enough well presented in the entire country. So you can choose which type of education really fits you. If you want new clothes, there are 100 or 1,000 types of different kind of stores to get the clothes you want and that really fits your style. But those are only clothes. But if you take a look at learning, what's way more important, you've got only a few options.
Yeah, crazy. Tad, mans jautājums bija, kā viņš redz nākotni, kā vispār šobrīd izstāstā situācija arī viņu valstī Nīderlandē, cik daudz ir šo parasto skolu un demokrātisko skolu. Viņš teica, ka viņš īsti nezina tos statistiskos skaitļus, bet viņš zina, ka ir vismaz 12-13 demokrātiskās skolas, un tad ir daudz dažādi paveidi parastajām skolām. Jā, tad vēl tā viena lieta, ko viņš vēl tad minēja, bija par jā, mums tagad jāpaņem pauzīties.
Alright, we have to take a little break. Tā mums bija maza pauzīte. Mēs pabeidzām pie jautājuma, kur es prasīju, kā Leks redz nākotni par demokrātiskajām skolām viņa valstī un salīdzinājumā ar parastajām skolām. Leks minēja to, ka ir svarīgi saprast to, ka demokrātiskās skolas nedara pilnīgi visiem. Ir labi, ka ir arī parastās skolas, un kāds ļoti labi varbūt arī jūtās arī šajā tā kā struktūrā un veidā, kā tas tiek pasniegts. Viņaprāt, ir ļoti svarīgi, ir šī izvēle, ir šī iespēja un ir vairāki varianti, ka tu vari izvēlēties. So I just repeated what I asked about the future, about the schools, and then you said that it's important that there's a chance to choose between a democratic school, a regular school, and so you have the choice, basically. One of my next questions was about the testing. Is there a way how you can tell that your students are ready, or is there some kind of way how you make sure that you're
We do generate common tests. if I'm learning without a curriculum, I maybe make a quiz, a fun quiz Kahoot. It's on your phone and on the screen, and just to see what they picked up, or just asking questions and let them explain it. But not for grades. Because we want to test what they have learned and not test if they have learned enough for the curriculum. Because if you do that, students will learn for a grade and not for themselves. And we think that if you learn for yourself, information gets to stuck longer and better. And what I often noticed in the regular education is I learned for a test, I made a test, and then all the information was gone. It's somewhere way in the back. If someone wants to do a state exam, we test with older exams and follow the curriculum and ask if they have all the subjects of that, all the points you have to know for subject, and if they miss points, we're gonna talk about it. And sometimes, if a student asks for a test, I want to know how far I am, how can we make one. But then it's because the student wants it, and not because I want to test the student. Students sometimes want to test themselves.
Tad mans jautājums bija par testiem un kā viņi saprot, vai šie studenti vai skolnieki ir gatavi. Un tad viņa atbildē bija tāda, ka viņi netestē, lai saprastu, vai viņi seko kādam noteiktam plānam. Un viņi netestē, lai iedotu viņiem atzīmes, jo tad ir šis tāds kā slasts, kurā var iekrist, kad bērni vai skolēni mācās, vai studenti mācās tikai tā, lai saņemtu kaut kādu atzīmi. Viņi mācās, lai kaut ko saprast un kaut ko iegūtu. Citreiz viņš arī uzdeva tādus kā interesantus testiņus tādā Kahoot mājaslapā. Un, ja ir nepieciešams gatavoties iestāju eksāmeniem, tad viņi, protams, seko iepriekšējo gadu piemēriem un tad sagatavo balstoties uz to, uz ko viņi iet. One of the last two questions is about funding, or basically, if you are a teacher at a democratic school, where does your salary come from?
At least in the Netherlands, it's arranged this way. We got B3 schools. Those are schools that are found good enough and okay by the school inspection, but they are not funded by the government. So that's why we are a B3 school. Because as a B3 school, you don't have to follow the curriculum of the government, but the school inspection still states where your school has to how do we say it? Well, the school has certain points, and you have to fulfill those points. And if you do, you can be a school. Like, make certain the children are safe at your school. And all kind of the teachers you are having in your school are enough to sometimes come and visit and see if the one who isn't qualified yet is doing good enough. So if the school inspector says you're allowed to be in the school, then you can start. And then what do you have to do for funding? We don't get funding from the government, so we have to ask the parents. So the funding we ask from the parents. Between the ages 4 and 12, parents can get a bit of the money back from the government, from the taxes, because we're having a BSO building, and BSO stands for outside of schools daycare, outside of school care. And for children from the age of 13 and up, they don't get it back from taxes. But we, for the kind of school we are quite cheap, but still it's a sum of 4,000 euros a year. There are schools like ours that ask 10,000 euros, but we wanted to make as inviting as can be, because money is an issue. But we are getting paid from the 4,000 euros a year, and the more students we have, the more people we can hire or pay more salary.
So, if I understand correctly, that you don't get any funding from the government, everything is paid by the parents, but they can get some of it back through taxes. And then your salary is basically based on how many kids are in the school.
Correct.
Yeah, how many basically hours that you do.
And from the 4,000 euros, besides the salaries, the building has to be paid, the water, electric, gas, the school materials have to be paid from the money. So it's not a lot. If I took a job in regular education, I would make a lot more.
Okay.
So it's also something I do because I stand for it, but it's not something you get rich from or make it comfortable living off.
So it probably has a circle of finance as well in your school, that of how you're going to spend the money on.
Exactly, and each year the students can say, or voting, it's not really voting, but they decide with each other if people who are working, if they get a new assignment for the next year. Because sometimes, for example, if nobody wants biology, why should I be there? So each year there's a new assessment. What do we need? Who do we need? And how much can we pay? So each year we get a new assignment.
Tātad tas, ko Leks pastāstīja, tas mans jautājums bija par to, kā viņiem maksā kā skolotājiem šādā skolā. Un tā kā tā skola neatbilst tādiem tiem kā valsts standartiem, tā ir kā privātā skola, vecāki maksā 4,000 eiro gadā, kas nav maz, bet kas nav arī pārāk daudz, jo ir citas skolas, kas prasa līdz 10,000 gadā. Plus vecāki var saņemt arī pēc tam atpakaļ daļu no naudas ar nodokļu atmaksu līdzīgajā sistēmā. Alright, so we had to move quite a lot, but still we're going through all the questions. So the last question is, if in Latvia we would create a democratic school, what would be some of the things that we should implement, or how as a teacher Lex sees what maybe we should concentrate on?
There are a few things I can give tips for. The first thing is the European organization and the international organization for democratic schools. European is ODEC, and the international is IDEC. If you want to create a school, you should experience it. So visit a democratic school, either in the Netherlands or Germany. I believe Italy has one. There are multiple in Europe. And what you should know is we are called a democratic school, but we are organized sociocratic. Sociocratic is a form of democracy, but it's a bit different. In democracy, you have you count the votes, and the votes, the choice that has the most votes wins, right? In sociocracy, it is that there's proposal to change something, and instead of voting yes or no, what everybody does is feel within itself, think about it, and look if they have an objection to it. Just like I said, from the motions, you have to have an objection, and if someone has, it has to be well argumented, but you have to have a new proposal. So everybody can be heard, everyone's opinion can be heard, but you don't have to, but you have the space to give your opinion. And instead of yes or no, where it leaves the group that loses the vote, it's sad or not really behind what's the outcome, it is something everyone who has an opinion about it or a strong opinion can tell about it, and if the original proposal isn't the one that's got accepted, there's always a new one and a better one. And it's a really great tool, because in democratic education, the thing is that we're based on freedom, responsibilities, at least our school is, and equality. And it doesn't mean the same as equal, because if you living as a man in Latvia, I live in man as in the Netherlands, it doesn't make us equal. We're different because we live in a different country. But our vote, our voice should be equal. And that's really one of the principles of democratic education, that a child of 4 has an equal vote or voice in your school as someone who teaches there as an adult. That way you get a broader perspective, everyone can be heard, and often the best proposal wins. But sometimes, even if someone has a better proposal, he remains silent because he doesn't have a strong opinion about it. So that's one of the things I do also would recommend. Indeed, just go and visit one, because experiencing is really different than hearing about it.
I'll try and translate this part.
Yeah, sure.
So the Lex states that mans jautājums bija, ja Latvija, teiksim, izdomātu uztaisīt šādas te skolas, arī atvērt demokrātiskās skolas, tad kādi būtu ieteikumi, ko mēs varētu darīt? Viens no tiem bija noteikti aizbraukt un paskatīties uz tām valstīm, kur jau tādas ir, tuvākās, un kā viņi tās visas lietas dara. Otrs, paturēt noteikti tos principus, kas ir, kad visiem ir vienādas balss tiesības. Tikpat ļoti kā direktoru var sadzirdēt arī 4-gadīgu bērnu, kuram ir iespēja izteikties, un ja ar argumentiem nav pietiekoši loģiski pretargumenti, kādēļ viņa ieteikumi ir, teiksim, labāki vai sliktāki, vai pieņemami vai nepieņemami, tad demokrātiskā vai šajā tajā sabiedrībā vai tajā struktūrā šīs lietas tad var pieņemt arī tikpat labi kā 4-gadīgs bērns, tā arī jebkurš skolotājs, kas mācījās skolā, vai jebkurš cits darbinieks, ja tas palīdz. Un tātad tieši viņu skola balstās uz tādiem kā 3 pilāriem, kas ir tātad vienlīdzība, so it was equality,
freedom,
brīvība, freedom, equality
and responsibility.
Un tas, ka tu uzņemies atbildību par to, ka tu tur esi, ko tu dari, ko tu izvēlies. Yeah.
Because they are the themes of the foundation of the education, but they're also quite, freedom can be interpreted as, oh, I can do whatever I want. Sure, but there are boundaries, even within freedom. Because if I do something I like, doesn't supposed to mean you like it too.
Yeah.
So it's also a bit about camaraderie. Like, okay, my freedom shouldn't be a factor that narrows your freedom. So our freedoms has to coexist. So we try to generate freedom for everyone without narrowing the freedom of someone other too much. Responsibility is something you have about yourself. You have to be responsible for yourself, but you also have to be responsible for the people you're in school with, and the school itself and its environment. And equality, I explained earlier. One of the other things I should recommend is we have a horizontal organization. That means we have no boss. The school itself, with everyone in it, is the one who gives the orders. There's no one person that gives the orders. We are all equal and we create orders with each other. And the last thing is more of a heads up, because creating the first democratic school in a land can be really hard. Our school had, when it just started, multiple court cases just to be acknowledged as a school. And it was really hard. So I do not try to discourage you, because I do think if you want to create one, you have the skills to do it and determination, I believe. But I do want to give you a heads up. It can be really, really hard to just do all the school things, make school, get its students, do the financials, all that kind of things, but also being recognized by the government as an official school, and by you also have to change the mindset of other Latvians to be accepting for democratic education. What we sometimes still also have as situations is that parents and the kid are really comfortable with democratic education, but then there's a family member, often their grandpas and grandmas, who saying, "Don't you need a diploma? That's not a school." So it's a warning for judgments of other people.
Some old stigma.
Yeah. Even in the Netherlands, where it's already 18 years, it's still a stigma.
Oh, so the school where you work in was the first one to open?
As a democratic school, I believe so. It's because before that we had other types of school that were similar, but it
wasn't fully democratic.
No, A wasn't fully democratic, and B, it's called in the Netherlands Iederwijs, and if I should translate it, I will translate it as everybody has wisdom.
It's like German wise.
Yeah. But that concept didn't make it in the Netherlands, and democratic did, and now they're slowly getting more and more versions and schools in the Netherlands.
Okay, thank you. Tātad mans jautājums bija, kā mēs varētu tad implementēt, ko varētu uzlabot. Viena no lietām, ko viņš teica, ir brīvība, kad katram skolotājam un studentam ir sava brīvība, bet tā katra cilvēka individuālā brīvība nedrīkst pārklāt vai aizsekt kādu citu brīvību. Piemēram, ja es šobrīd daru kaut ko, ko es vēlos, es nedrīkstu, teiksim, protams, ja tas cilvēks vēlas, viņš man var pievienoties, bet tas nedrīkst būt tā, ka mēs tagad darīsim to, jo tā ir mana izvēle, tad tev arī ir jāpievienojas man. Otrs ir tas, kad viņi visu izvēlās kopā. Nav viens cilvēks, kurš izdomā, ka tagad būs tā, un mēs visi darīsim šādi. Un, kad vienkārši jāuzmanās, ja mēs taisam, vai, kā viņš saka, heads up, ir tas, kad, ja mēs mēģināsim izveidot pirmo skolu, tas visdrīzāk būs grūti, sarežģīti, būs daudz dažādu aizspiedumu, vai, kā viņš minēja, kad ir vēl joprojām daudz tādi, kā cilvēki, kas ir tā kā ļoti pārliecināti par to, ka tā sistēma, kāda ir šobrīd, ir pareizā, un tad tie jautājumi ir tādi, vai tad tā ir skola, vai tad tu vispār dabūsi kaut kādu papīru, vai tad tevi ņems pēc tam kaut kur, un tad tam līdzīgi. All right, well, thank you for the interview. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I'm really curious what it made in our stories that you heard this week, motivated to make a school like a democratic school in Latvia.
Jā, tad viņa jautājums ir, mēs esam nedēļu kopā strādājuši, veidojot izglītojošas spēles, un viņa jautājums ir, kas mani ieintriģēja dzirdot no viņiem. Šajā projektā mums ir pārstāvji no 4 vai vismaz iesaistīti 4 demokrātiskajās skolās Nīderlandē, un kas man uzrunāja, lai saprastu, mēģinātu izprast un varbūt sākt bīdīt tās vismaz idejas tajā virzienā, kad arī Latvijā tāda skola varētu būt. So I just said that we have been working together for a week, developing educational games, and we have participants in this project that are involved in like 4 different democratic schools in the Dutch, Netherlands. And so yeah, well, as I look at all of you, as Yella and you as teachers, and then Taco as a student, it seems that you're in the right place. You seem happy with what you do. You're very articulate and very, so to say, proud that you are a part of a democratic school where you are involved in this environment. And I've had this feeling since I began studying to become a teacher, which was back in 2009, that our education system lacks the student involvement in designing the process of their learning. I strongly believe that if a student is able to choose their written pace, subjects and the direction where they want to go by themselves, they are giving 100, 120 or 200% of effort to achieve that goal. But though what is happening right now, I feel, and it was with my education as well, that when I'm sat in the class, somebody tells me you have to work hard not to get a bad grade, or you will stay behind, you will not succeed, you will not gonna get a diploma, everybody else is smarter, that this comparing and cramming in and working for a grade brings out of me 2, maybe 3% of effort. Otherwise, when I choose to do something, I go for it with everything I got. But if somebody is telling me, you have to do this now, you have to do this now, it creates a block, and it's not that I don't want to do it, it's just I didn't come to it myself, and I didn't hear why I need to do it right now. So, and I believe that as a person and as people, I really like how you are, and yeah, just being around you inspires me, and I think it's the right way to move in education.
We do have a term for creating your own curriculum and do what you want and when you want it and how you want it. We call it ownership. Ownership of your own learning, and that's not a principle, but it's a starting point. You are the one that's going to create your style of learning, your curriculum, and no one is going to do it for you, but we are here to help you. And that's really where our education also is based on, not to do it for you, but you do it with our help if you say you need it. And sometimes students forget to say, oh, I need help, or too shy, or and that's where you have to be really good at observing students. That's why during COVID I had online lessons, and teaching them wasn't a problem. But really knowing how it was with them, I was dependent on what they told me. Normally in school, when I'm there, I observe students. Are they just going through school like normal way, or are they more alone now, or a facial expression? And those things doesn't always mean I have to do something with a child or help him, but I can always ask. And I do think that's also really important. I find it really important. Not assume they need help, but check if they need help.
Tad mana atbilde uz šo jautājumu bija tāda, ka jau kopš tā brīža, kad es mācījos Latvijas universitātē, lai kļūtu par angļu valodas un sporta skolotāju, es ievēroju to, ka, manuprāt,
Un ka arī manā gadījumā studenti aizslēdzās vai noslēdzās, nesaprotot to, kādēļ viņiem ir jāmācās, ja viņi tiek nosētināti klasē, un viņiem tiek pateikts, ka tev tagad jādara tas un tas, un tev būs atzīme par to, un ja būs slikta atzīme, tad būs slikti, un ja būs laba, tad tu varēsi turpināt bez mazliet, un tad, jā, tad šajā gadījumā man liekas, ka demokrātiskā skola ir daudz labāks variants, kad tas bērns pats izvēlās, un viņam ir, kā Laiks teica, kad viņš ir tur, lai vērotu to situāciju, saprastu, kas notiekās. Ja viņš arī nesaprot, vai viņam liekas, ka ir kaut kāds veids, kā viņš var palīdzēt, viņš prasa tam skolniekam, studentam, vai ir kāds veids, kā es tev varu palīdzēt. Viņš ir tur, lai atbalstītu viņu, nevis lai teiktu, jā, tagad tev jāmācās šis, tagad tev būs tests par to, un ja tu nenoliks, tad tev būs jānāk pat vasarā un jāstrādā ar mani. Tas nav tas viņa darbs, tas, manuprāt, tam nevajadzētu būt neviena darbam, un mums vairāk ir vienkārši jāstrādā pie tā kāpēc, pie tā why we do this, and yes. Paldies, thank you, Max.
No problem.
And I hope we can chat again with some practical things for Latvian democratic schools.
Yeah, if you have questions, you can always ask me, and maybe we can arrange sometimes that you can observe our school.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah.